Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a declutter. I'm going to be decluttering my foundation drawer, which has foundations, concealers, powders, and primers. So I definitely want to cut that down. I basically have a bunch of things that are layered on top of each other. I have foundations that I know I've had for a few years. My preferences and things have changed as well, especially because it's like a skin focused product. Like my skin changes throughout the year and just different things and like finishes that I like change as well. So I want to get into that drawer and clear out quite a bit. I'm a little bit more stubborn when it comes to getting rid of like expensive foundations and stuff, especially because I can't necessarily pass a lot of the products along like I can for an eyeshadow palette since it's more specific to my shade. But I know that some products, I've had them for like 2 years. They're probably not going to last much longer, so I might as well get rid of them and use up what I have in my collection right now. So that is going to be the goal for today, to really cut down my collection and just use the products that I know I'm going to end up finishing and know that I actually love, and not really need to force myself to use products that are mediocre just because they're there. So I'll let you guys know what I like and what I dislike, what my favorites are. So if you guys are interested in seeing my foundation declutter, then just keep on watching. All right, so here is a look into my foundation drawer. Foundations, primers, concealers, powders, everything in that area. I do have just a few foundations and primers, like 4 of each, in my everyday makeup drawer and in my main vanity, but everything else is in here. It actually normally is not super cluttered the way it is now, but because I've been reorganizing my vanity and my makeup storage, I used to have a whole drawer of foundations and primers and stuff in my glam box, but I moved it all into here. So now I want to declutter and reorganize everything. Basically, I want it to all have a place. I love this kind of setup here and here, but I don't obviously like all this chaos in the back here. So we're gonna get into it and get rid of everything that I'm definitely not gonna be using up and don't really like. So let's start off with primers. Everything's kind of scattered all over the place, but actually let's just tackle things section by section and see what happens. So first of all, in this section, I actually think these are all things that I like. Yeah, these are all some of my favorite products up here, and they're usually what I like the most. I try to move forward, so I'll just go through them quickly, but these are all things that I'm going to be keeping. So these are 2 of my favorite primers of all time. The Origins Pore Perfecting Primer. This is a super awesome hydrating cooling primer. Highly recommend this. And then the Kylie Skin Moisturizer is an amazing primer as well. Both of these are like really used up, so I'm gonna finish these anyways, especially this. Like there's probably a couple uses left in this, and the Kylie one, it still has quite a bit, but I actually stopped using it because I love it so much that I didn't want to use it up. So I have to put this in an everyday makeup drawer to actually finish it, and with this one as well. But these are 2 favorites that I actually really like. And then these are all of the First Aid Beauty primers. I actually like all of these. This is the Coconut Skin Primer, the original one from First Aid Beauty. This is the one that's the most hydrating and like dewy. And then the Hydrating primer is still hydrating, but it's not as dewy. It's like kind of in the middle. And then we have the Matte Primer. And honestly, I don't remember last time I wore the matte primer, so I actually need to move this into an everyday makeup drawer or just test it out this week and be reminded how I feel about it, because I am like at a loss right now. I really have no recollection of this primer, and that makes me annoyed because it's obviously completely full and I need to try it out and see if I actually like it. So I need to put that to the test again, but I know that I love both of these primers. All right, so that whole section is staying for now, but in here I see some things that I could definitely get rid of. We have this little baby Too Faced Hangover Rx. I'm going to put that in maybe a maybe pile. I know that I like this, but this is just a little sample that I got in an Ipsy bag like a month or 2 ago. I can keep this for now because I know I like this and I'll use it up in a week anyways, so I'm going to hang on to that. But then here we have a couple facial oils. I'm just going to keep one because I know they eventually go bad. I'm going to keep the Wander Beauty facial oil. I really love the packaging for this. I feel like it's really convenient to mix into some more mattifying foundations. I like to mix it into the Pure foundation, the Smashbox Full Coverage foundation. Yeah, basically anything that's super matte if I want to give it a little bit more of a dewy finish. This is what I use. I actually do use this not super regularly, but when I do use those foundations, I like to mix this in. And I don't see myself using up the Wet n Wild facial oil. And there's no reason for me to have multiple facial oils. And this one's actually like super affordable too. So I'm going to end up getting rid of this one because I know I'm not going to use it up. This Yensa primer, I know I'm not going to use. I used it a couple times and I really didn't love it. I actually didn't like it. And I love the Yensa foundation so much. So I was like disappointed with this. So I'm not going to hang on to this because I just didn't like the finish and I'm definitely not going to use it up. I've had this Smashbox Primerizer for years since it first came out. At this point, I'm not going to finish it. Like, it's really old. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this because I should have used it up. Like, it's one of those things, like I mentioned earlier, that I got to a certain point where I was almost done with it and I'm like, oh, I need to save it and only use it when I'm going to events or something, but then I don't even end up using it up. So I'm going to end up tossing it just because at this point I feel a little weird about it because it's like 3 years old or so and I have so many other newer products. I actually love the new Smashbox Primer from my Sephora haul. That one's awesome, the vitamin C one. This is still amazing. I will repurchase this in the future, but I don't need to anytime soon, so I'm going to declutter it for now. This is actually a very similar primer. This is the Pure Canvas Powder Primer from Laura Mercier. Now I'm feeling I should maybe move this into my skincare in my bathroom because this is awesome, but this is more like a serum texture. And I want to use this product up because it feels so good on your skin. So I might move this into my bathroom, or I might actually move this into my everyday makeup drawer so I remember to apply it as like a base before primer. All right, next up we have the e.l.f. Poreless Face Primer. I love this stuff a lot as well. It is more affordable. I have had this one for at least 1.5 years. I think 2 years maybe. So I'm gonna put this in a maybe pile and see how many primers I have left over because I really want to use up like my expensive primers and not let them go to waste before I use something that's like, you know, a $3 primer. So let me just see how many primers I have left as we keep going through this video, but I do really love that. That's probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite, from the drugstore. This is a must-have for summer as well. I know I'm holding on to a lot of things, but like I said, more of the things I use are up here, and once we get back here, that's where the declutter is really gonna start. But this is an awesome product for summer. Custom blot drops from Cover FX. This is older packaging, and I believe they have newer packaging now as well. And this is awesome if you have a dewy foundation and you want to mix it in to make it a little bit more matte and have it last longer in hot weather. So good. So definitely hanging on to that. This is the time of year I use that. Definitely hanging on to the Flawless Filter from Charlotte Tilbury. Another product that I put away because I was scared of running out. But I really just need to go ahead and use this up. I've had it for 2 years. It's so good. I use the shade number 4. This takes your foundation and makes your face look like flawless, poreless. It's one of my favorite makeup products. I am totally going to repurchase this. It's just so expensive that I didn't want to finish up this product. But I just need to go ahead and keep using it and not feel guilty about using it, because I love it. So I'm gonna do that and then I'll end up repurchasing that. I know I'm running low on it. Like if I use it for the next like several weeks back to back, I'll end up running out. This is a Stellar Beauty primer. I know I actually like this primer a lot, but there's other primers that I like more. And I don't reach for this too much. I'm not gonna miss it. If you guys are interested, like I do recommend it. I do like this primer. It's a good one, but I have very similar primers in my collection that I love, so I'm gonna end up decluttering that one. This is the Juno & Co. Moonshine Primer. This is like, reminds me of like the Pond's cream that like my mom would use growing up. Like this is like that thick kind of cold cream texture. It has that same smell as well, and this reminds me of like a bookend or something. Like this is decor. I actually love the packaging, but it's super impractical. Like I wish it just came in a tube for the sake of storage, but I'm definitely gonna hang on to this. This is another thing that you could use as like a daytime or even nighttime moisturizer. Maybe not nighttime if it, I don't know if it has dimethicone in it. It doesn't have the ingredients list on here. You don't want it to like clog your pores or anything, but It's just a very, very hydrating primer is basically my point. So definitely hang on to that one as well. Okay, we're getting into some other stuff right here. So let's talk about, we have the Smashbox Primer. This is newer in my collection. I've only had it for a few months. This is a very full coverage foundation. So I'm definitely gonna hang on to this. I wear the shade 2.22. If you want something super full coverage and long wearing, check this out. It's awesome. It's a little bit too matte for me, so that's when I add in the Glow Drops from Wander Beauty. But if you have oily skin, you'll love this so much. And because I'm hanging on to this, I'm definitely gonna get rid of Estee Lauder Double Wear. I actually think that this shade is a bit light for me. This is 2W2. It's just like 1 or 2 shades light for me to use, especially like in the spring and summertime. I do still like this foundation, but I think I don't need too many full coverage matte foundations, and the Smashbox one is newer in my collection. So I'm gonna declutter that one. And this one used to be my fave from Bare Minerals. I still love it, but it is a shade that's like a little bit off for me that I have to mix in with another shade, and this one's actually almost all the way used up. But this is one that I loved for so many years, so I'm gonna go ahead and declutter it. It's basically just has like a few more uses in it there anyways, so I'm gonna declutter that. The Wet n Wild one, I'm gonna hang on to this for now. I'm gonna be a little bit more particular about the drugstore foundations that I keep, because I definitely want to use up the foundations that are like 60 bucks and not let those go to waste. But I do like this foundation. I'm gonna hang on to it, and then I'm gonna declutter a couple drugstore ones though. Like, I don't like this. It's not even like a perfect shade match either. This is a clean, fresh foundation from CoverGirl. This is like a very watery finish. It basically looks like a tinted BB cream on my skin. I don't need that, so I'm just gonna get rid of that. I like the Light Wonder from Charlotte Tilbury, so I'm gonna hang on to that. I just used this yesterday. I'm still figuring out how I like to use this, but I'm gonna actually play with this more through the next couple weeks that we're still in quarantine, where I don't want to wear makeup at home, but I want to feel a little bit more put together, so I'll just apply this like with my fingertips just to give myself a little bit of like an even base. Still need to just use it more and see how I like it and how I like to wear it day to day. But this is a Tinted Moisturizer from Mercier. I see the ColourPop. This looks nasty. It looks like it's all separated and gross. I don't even like this concealer from ColourPop. I reviewed it compared to the other concealer from ColourPop. I like the other one so much better, so I'm gonna end up decluttering that. So this is another lightweight foundation that I actually do like. This is the Hello Happy foundation from Benefit. I have a shade number 5. This is a super light, like I would wear this over the summer just to, if I was going to like the pool or the beach where you're not really wearing any makeup, but it has, I think it has SPF in it. Yeah, SPF 15, and you just want like a tint of something on your skin. That's what I would like this for. I've actually used up quite a bit, so I'm gonna hang on to that. That's another thing that I'm like kind of rediscovering, just finding all these things in my collection. I'm gonna go ahead and declutter the Stellar foundation, more so for practicality reasons, because I feel like this is not available at Sephora anymore. If I'm talking about it in videos and stuff, it doesn't really make sense, and when that's the case, I end up not wearing it much anyways. So basically my point is I'm not going to use it up, so I'm going to end up decluttering it, which makes me sad because I liked this foundation for a while. I like other foundations more, so I'm decluttering it because I like other things too, but yeah, I don't think that foundation like exists on Sephora right now. This shade is way too light for me from Lancome. I use the darker shade and I mix it into some other foundation. So I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this. I actually used quite a bit, but this shade is just completely wrong. Laura Mercier, I actually still really like this foundation. I need to start using it more because it's more of like a lightweight foundation. This would be another one that's nice for like lightweight, natural, fresh makeup days as well. So I'm gonna hang on to this one. We're gonna hang on to Charlotte Tilbury Magic Foundation. As you can see, I've used quite a bit. This is another full coverage matte foundation that looks awesome, and it still looks like skin, so really like that. I have not used this one enough. This is the Makeup Forever foundation. this used to be my Holy Grail foundation, and then I repurchased it recently with like a recent Sephora haul, actually a couple months ago, but I need to start using this again because this is like newer in my collection and I just put it on the back burner. All right, so here we have a bunch of affordable foundations. So starting off with ColourPop, I have to force myself to use this. This is in the shade medium 80. It looks good when you apply it and then it doesn't a few minutes later. Not a few minutes, but like a few hours later, it starts to break apart. So I'm going to toss this foundation. I want to keep the Maybelline one because I got this in Colombia. It's a squeeze tube and it's like a souvenir. It's like the one thing I bought the last time I went to Colombia. And it's the Matte and Poreless foundation. It actually matches me. So I want to keep this because I get really sentimental about getting things in South America. And then I don't necessarily need the CoverGirl foundation, but I like it enough to hang on to it. It's one of my favorites from the drugstore. So I'm at least going to hang on to it for now, and then we'll reassess at the end of this video. The e.l.f. Original Concealer, I don't really like this one, especially compared to the Hydrating one. I prefer the Hydrating one so much more. I have a comparison video of the original Camo Concealer. I have a review of the original Camo Concealer with all the shades. It's great coverage and everything, but it's just like a little bit too matte for me. But I'm going to pass this along, or actually declutter this one. It's older, and I have a hydrating one that I actually really like and prefer over this one. We have the Gripping Primer from Cover FX. This is a cool product because it helps your foundation stick to your face. So this is like an innovative, different primer in my collection. It's not just like a plain, simple primer, so I'm going to hang on to that. And then the No Pore Bump Primer, I'm going to hang on to as well. I really like this too. It's more of a hydrating, silky primer. I got it in BoxyCharm at least several months ago, but this is a really good one. Definitely something I recommend. So I was debating that e.l.f. primer, and then we also have one from CoverGirl. These are kind of like dupes to each other. Well, not necessarily dupes to each other because they're both drugstore, but these are both very similar. So I'm going to get rid of the CoverGirl one and keep the e.l.f. one. But these are both, oh, you know what they're a dupe to actually? I've made a video about this before. Both of these are kind of a dupe to the Hourglass Mineral Veil Primer. I've just had the e.l.f. one longer, so I reach for it more, and the packaging's cuter. They're very similar, but I prefer the e.l.f. one a little bit more, so I'm going to declutter the CoverGirl one. I don't need this from Benefit. I've had this for way too long, this little sample of the Porefessional Matte Rescue. This is kind of just like an average product. Back here, the Water Cloud Primer from Cover FX. Let me see if I could show you guys what I don't like about it. I thought I would love this primer, but it like pills when you apply it. I don't know if you'll be able to see. Like, it feels so good, but every time, I don't know if you can tell. No, you can't tell now. Now that's making me like question everything. I swear when I would apply it, at least like the first couple weeks that I got it, it feels so good on your skin, and it's just like a really awesome texture, but it'll start to pill, like the texture will like ball up. All right, I don't need to hang on to this one, because I swear that would happen every time that I would use it, and it was such a bummer because out of all of the Cover FX primers, I thought that this would be the one that I loved the most because I love like gel consistencies, but this one just like got kind of gloopy, so didn't end up liking that. I don't want to talk about that one yet because this is still super full. This is the Fenty Hydrating foundation. It's one of those things like I get mad at myself because I didn't return. I really wish I returned this, but I feel like I was just being stubborn and like, oh, it's Fenty, it has to be good. Like I just love Rihanna. So I should have returned it. It's not so much, you know what bothers me about this foundation is the smell. Like I can't get over that baby wipe scent. And I can't even tell you guys what, I know it's pretty dewy, the texture, it's a lot dewier than I like. But I can't even get myself to apply this foundation because the scent is so strong. You know, so let me just put that in a maybe for now, and then we'll see where we're at. The Too Faced Born This Way Sculpting Concealer. I love this concealer a lot. So this one's in the shade Golden Beige. I'm gonna definitely hang on to that one. I've actually used up several of those. So these are both illuminating primers. Basically, the L'Oreal one is like a dupe to the Laura Mercier one. The Laura Mercier one is actually a little bit more silky, and this one's more of a like highlighter-y texture. Both of them you can mix into like your primers or foundation. I'm just gonna hang on to the Laura Mercier one because it's newer. I've had this one for a few years, and obviously this one's like way more expensive than this one. So if they both do the same thing, I'd rather use the newer one in videos and stuff. So I'm gonna get rid of the L'Oreal one. All right, let's get into all of these. So we have like the Juno concealer. I love this concealer so much. I think that this shade should work for me. Like, they sent over the full shade range when these came out, and I used up the shade that matched me the best fully, and I think this shade should work for me as well. So I'm gonna hang on to that because that's actually one of my favorite concealers. I'm gonna get rid of these Boying concealers from Benefit. I just don't see myself using them up. Like, they're fine, but I'd rather use up everything that I love before that, so I'm just not gonna use it. I'm not gonna use this up. I liked this at the time. Like, I just switch. In the past like 2 years, I really switched up, or especially in the last year, I really switched up the kind of concealers that I like. I like more creamy, full coverage concealers. Before, I only liked lightweight concealers. So I loved this at the time from, what is it, First Aid Beauty. But it's a very light concealer, and I just love a full coverage, so I'm gonna get rid of that. Next up, we have all of these concealer pens from Juno, and what is this? I'm gonna save that too. Juno and Bare Minerals. Honestly, all of these from Bare Minerals, I think most of them should work for me. These are actually some of my favorite underrated products. If I can get it to open. Anytime I travel, this is always in my purse. I think this one's too light for me, so I'm gonna oh no, other way. I'm gonna get rid of this one. But this is a very creamy stick concealer. It looks so good. It's really good coverage. These are products, like if I only had one, this one's actually brand new, so I'm gonna hang on to that one as well. These are products like when I run out, I'm gonna repurchase these. And then I have 4 from Juno, I think just because I was trying to figure out what my shade was. So let's decide what is my actual shade and just keep like 1 or 2 of these. So these are actually both unused and brand new. So I'm actually gonna put them in a drawer that I have like some extra backup PR products for when I run out of these. I don't need to have like 4 in my drawer at all times. These, I might declutter one of these, but I can't remember. I just need to actually apply them on my face because I can't remember which one is like too light and which one works. Next up, we have a bunch of concealers over here. We're definitely getting rid of the Shape Tape. One, because this is a shade that's way too light, and then I actually have a mini Shape Tape that is actually my shade that I save for comparison videos and everything. I really only save this one so I can show you guys like a wand comparison and some like concealer comparison videos, but you can tell like this concealer is like 5 shades too light, so I don't really have like a full experience with Shape Tape of other than just wearing the wrong shade, and I just find it a bit too matte for my liking. So I'm gonna declutter that. I don't know how many concealer Shape Tape comparison videos I'll be doing in the future anyways. Like, I've done so many that I think it served enough of its purpose. I'm gonna keep the little mini though for just for that reference. You guys know I love to do comparison videos, so like I get bummed if I don't have a formula for reference, but I try to be realistic about what makes sense. This is one of my favorite concealers. This is the Stay Naked from Urban Decay. This one's in the shade 40 NN. I'm gonna hang on to this, but the shade that's actually works better for me is 40 NY. I'm actually finishing up that shade currently, so I'm hoping that this shade works out for me too. If it doesn't, I'll end up getting rid of it, but I'm really hoping that that shade works as well. And then the Cover FX concealer, I just don't like this. Specifically, the applicator is so weird. Like, it makes no, what is that? You know, like, have you seen another concealer applicator like this? It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why I'm so annoyed about it right now, but it's like one of those things, like, I love Cover FX so much. They have amazing products, but this just made no sense to me. Like, this little concealer and the little applicator, I definitely wanted to like it so badly, but it just was annoying to apply, so I'm gonna get rid of that. We have another Juno concealer. This is in Creme Caramel. I need to figure out, oh, that's way too light for me. I'm gonna get rid of that. I'm gonna hang on to Pretty Fresh. It's probably the only concealer that I'm gonna hang on to that is more of a dewy, lightweight concealer. I like this one. I made a comparison, like I said, of the ColourPop concealers. I still use the Nars Concealer. I'm using that one. The shade I wear is Café con Leche. I knew it was something in Spanish. And then I'm actually pretty close to using up this Mercier concealer. This is another one that's more lightweight, but it actually looks really good under your eyes. Like you can see, I've used up quite a bit. We're running low here. I use the shade 2W. I'm going to hang on to the Nars concealer. This is a soft matte concealer. I think this was really hyped up at the time. I think just because everybody did a sponsored video, like every big YouTuber put out a sponsored video on this concealer, like 20 people. So I feel like this was really hyped up at the time, but nobody else talks about it. And I definitely think that's why I ended up buying it. I actually do like this concealer. I wear it a lot of times on like no makeup days. I love this for an eye primer and like a cut crease moment to cut out your crease. And I also love it for breakouts. If I have a breakout, this is my go-to product because it's matte and it really sticks onto a product. Or sticks onto your face. And there's something else I was going to say about it. Oh, also to clean up a brow. This is a good product for all of those moments. It's not something I like to wear as an everyday concealer, but spot concealing, this is such a good one. I'm going to keep these little 2 samples. Like I said, the Tarte Shape Tape. I'm going to keep that for reference. And then I have my Fenty Beauty Original Foundation that I keep for reference for review videos if I want like a comparison of textures or shades. Let's see if I want to hang on to this. I've actually only used it a couple times, but this is... Yeah, I'm going to hang on to this because it also has SPF 50, so I feel like I would use this more so in the summertime. So I'm going to actually, let me keep it through the summer, and if I don't use it enough, I might get rid of it. Basically what it is, I'll show you guys. It's one of those like BB creams that starts off white, and then it ends up actually matching fairly well with your complexion. It actually does smell like sunscreen, so that's why I haven't been wearing it. I've only had it for like a few months. I got this as PR. And I actually loved it when I applied it because I just wanted something that gave my skin like a little bit of coverage or a little bit of an even feel. But I feel like I'm going to like this over the summer where if I'm out and about outdoors and I want something with SPF, but I don't want to wear foundation, I think this is like that one product that I have in my collection. You know what? I don't need to keep this Tinted Primer from YSL. I got this as like a Sephora 100 point or 250 point perk, and it has like a little spatula. I didn't love it. Like, I know it's super pricey, but at least I only got it as like a point perk and it's not a full-size thing. Yeah, I just didn't get the hype, so I'm gonna declutter it, and yeah, I'm not gonna use that up. I have the Makeup Forever HD. This is probably another thing that you get, you know, when you're ordering on Sephora and you put like, use the code HD makeup and you get one of these. I don't know why I talked like that just now, but that's what happened, and that's why I have this. But like I showed you guys earlier, I actually have like a full size of this foundation, so I don't need this one. I have a couple of these Hello Happies just because Benefit sent a few, and I know one of them's like the completely wrong shade, so I want to see what the right shade is here. Yeah, this one's like way too dark for me, so I'm gonna end up just keeping one. I'm gonna keep the one in the shade 3, and then I'm gonna get rid of this one in the shade 5. Urban Decay, I think I like shattered this. Yeah, I actually really like this powder a lot, and I'm so mad at myself. I was actually like using it really aggressively, like dipping my brush in there, like, and completely broke this powder. That's how intensely I use my makeup, unfortunately, sometimes. But this is actually an amazing powder. Stay Naked powder from Urban Decay in the shade 50. I'm gonna get rid of this old powder I have. This is from Urban Decay. It's the Naked Skin powder. I got it many years ago. It's not even like a perfect shade. It's the shade Medium Light Neutral. I guess it's a decent shade, but for a powder foundation, like, I like to use this if I'm just doing like a cream concealer and I just want a little bit of coverage all over my face. I'll put this on because it matches me perfectly. But I've actually had this for like 6 years, so I'm gonna go ahead and declutter that one. All right, so this is a setting powder from Ciate. I didn't give it much of a shot, but I have another powder from Ciate. I got this one in BoxyCharm, and I got the other one in BoxyCharm too. The other one smells like coconuts, and I love that powder. I'm almost done with it, so I might just give this a shot up next once I run out of that powder, because I'm really just gonna finish that one in like the next week or two. So I need to give that one a chance. I'm not gonna use this e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. I'm just like not the biggest fan. You can see like I barely used it. I don't really need like a poreless primer situation. I feel like it's a little too thick and matte, and I'm really not a big fan of primers that I need to like scoop out and apply. Like I don't like the messiness of this packaging. They also have like a hydrating version. I got that in PR and I haven't opened it, so I might test that out once I run out of some of the other primers. But this one is just, I'm definitely not going to use this up. I've had it for the last year. I really like this. This is from Good Molecules. This is their silicone-free priming moisturizer. I use this quite a bit. Since I got it a couple months ago, I'm going to continue to use it. I'm going to hang on to that for sure. We have some more powder, so I said I'm going to hang on to these. I'll get those out of the way. The Galactic one, I've had this one for years. I'm not going to finish it out. And this is a shade that's a little bit off. It was a really nice powder, but I'm definitely not going to finish it. But I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to hang on to the Airbrush powder from Charlotte Tilbury. This is a nice powder. It's really expensive as well. I use this for touch-ups. I really like this powder. It's one of my favorite Charlotte Tilbury product. The Jouer powder I really need to give more attention to. It's actually very, very new in my collection. And when it comes to setting powders, like in my everyday makeup drawer, I have my Estee Lauder Double Wear setting powder. That is something I reach for all the time. So I need to kind of use up my favorites before I get into some of these other ones. But this is newer that I just need to give a chance once I use up the other powders. The Bare Minerals Bare Pro powder. I'm going to hang on to this because anytime I do travel, this is what I take with me. Like on the go, I'll take this powder and the Bare Minerals concealer, because those are things that I like to use on like light makeup days. I actually reach for this quite a bit. I'm gonna get rid of this one from Burt's Bees. I actually love this formula, but this shade is too dark for me. I had another shade that was lighter that I would use to set my under eyes that I loved so much, but this shade is actually like a little bit orangey, so I'm gonna end up getting rid of this one. This one's in the shade 1125 Almond. I can't remember the name of the shade I had before, but I would repurchase that once I run out of some of these other powders. And we have the Lancome Absolute powder. I definitely need to use this more. I use this very lightly because it is kind of like a highlighting veil. If you apply too much, it looks like you put highlighter all over your face, so you just need to use a tiny bit at a time. So I definitely need to incorporate this into more looks, especially for spring and summer where I want like a really glowy makeup look. But I do like this powder. It's going to take me a while to finish just because, yeah, like I said, you use a tiny bit at a time, but definitely hanging on to that. And then everything is just stored in a Lauder beauty box. I actually think I have a review video of this very box on my channel from like 2015. So that's just what we've been using to store things for the last 5 years. Okay, let's get into here. One of these is my correct shade. I believe the shade 50 is the one that I use and works best for me. 50 WY, and then I have a shade lighter. I could use that in the fall time. I actually really like this foundation. It's one of my top 5 favorite foundations in my collection, and I have a feeling I'm going to be reaching for this a lot more in the summertime where I want more like light and fresh dewy makeup looks, because it's less coverage compared to some other foundations that I have. I do like I said, I like this BB foundation from Yensa. I've actually used quite a bit. This is probably my favorite product that's more of like a BB cream product, because it's kind of like the It Cosmetics CC cream, but I find that it's a little bit more matte, and I just like the look of it. Really, really recommend this. I'm in the shade medium warm, and it's actually a really good match. A lot of times BB creams run like super pink, but that one actually works well. Love this primer from Ole Henriksen. I know it doesn't feel like I'm decluttering a lot, but I'm like looking at the pile of things I'm getting rid of. I'm actually getting rid of quite a lot. Love this primer so much from Ole Henriksen. If you want something brightening and like wakes you up in the morning, feels good, smells amazing, smells citrusy. Love this stuff so much. I will like completely use up this primer in the future for sure. I didn't realize I have a full size Hangover Rx from Too Faced, so I'm gonna get rid of that little baby sample that I showed you guys at the beginning of the video, since I have a full size of this already. This one's like a little bit used up. It still has a ways to go. I'm gonna get rid of this Sunday Riley foundation. It doesn't even exist anymore, and it wasn't my favorite to begin with. It's more of like a lightweight coverage. This, I don't know why it like left the internet or just disappeared. Like Sunday Riley completely stopped making this foundation. And it's a couple years old. Like I remember reviewing this in my old apartment like 2.5 years ago. So I'm gonna get rid of this one. I'm obviously not gonna use it up. I'm gonna get rid of this one, the peach foundation, the Do You, the watermelon one. I wasn't using it, obviously. I didn't finish it up. I've had it for a while, and even though I've had this for a while, I've used up, in the time that I've had this, I've used up maybe 3 bottles of Too Faced Born This Way. So that is definitely the foundation I prefer so much more from Too Faced. I don't really hear a lot of people talking about this foundation either, so I don't think I'm going to use that up. I'll get rid of that. This is the Luminizer Primer from Dr. Brandt. I got this, I think, in BoxyCharm like a year or 2 ago. I actually liked it. It's a good primer for sure, but there's nothing special about it compared to some other things in my collection. Oh, I was confusing the foundation. So this is actually the peach primer, or the peach foundation from Too Faced. I'm going to get rid of this because I haven't reached for this in years, honestly, and I just know that this shade, Warm Nude, is a little bit pink, and that's part of the reason I wasn't reaching for it, and I also wasn't obsessed with the formula, so I'm going to get rid of this one as well. And then we have some primers. These are all new from Laura Mercier. I'm going to hang on to all of them because they are all new this year. I have a full review on my channel of all of the Laura Mercier primers in case you guys want to check it out. I will link it below as well. This is the SPF one, Perfecting and Blurring Primer. Oh, this used to be my favorite primer, but I honestly believe this is pretty old in my collection. I used to love this. I've gone through a couple bottles of this, but yeah, like I got this, I don't even remember when, like years ago. So I'm gonna declutter this because I don't like putting especially primers that are like really old on my face. So yeah, that is everything. I'm gonna clean everything up. I'll show you guys what I'm getting rid of, what I'm keeping, and what the drawer looks like with everything decluttered. All right, so before I put everything back in this drawer, I wanna show you guys what everything looks like for reference. So here are all of the products I'm keeping. I know it's a lot, but then here are all of the products that I'm getting rid of, which is quite a bit as well. And I have a lot of high-end items that I'm getting rid of that were kind of difficult to part ways with, but this is a decent amount. I want to say I'm getting rid of like probably 1/3 of my collection, which is actually pretty good. And a lot of these products are a bit newer in my collection as well, like some of these foundations. I have 6 Laura Mercier primers that are brand new in here that take up a lot of bulk. So this is actually a pretty decent job for this declutter. I know like foundations are a little bit harder to part ways with, especially because I have a lot of high-end products, but I think I did a pretty good job here. So I'm gonna go ahead, take all of these products, put them in here, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, so here is what my drawer looks like now. It's way more organized. Everything has a place. You can see everything. It's still slightly chaotic. Some things are a little stuffed in certain areas, like my little concealer here hanging on right there. But I tried to organize it in a way where things were kind of sectioned together. Things would make sense. So here I have a bunch of primers, and then I have that little CC cream that fit here as well. I put all of my concealers right here. Loose powders are up here. All the Laura Mercier products are in this little section. The foundations that could stand up and not be too tall are all right here. My First Aid Beauty primers and my facial oil. Then back here I have the primers that were too tall to stand up, and then some foundations that were too tall to stand up. Minimal layering back here, but like everything I can pretty much see. And then all of my powders are back here in my Juno & Co. primer because it's so big that it needed like a whole separate section. So I put that back there. But these powders, like I can all see. Yeah, so everything's way more organized. If you guys remember at the beginning of the video, everything was stacked on top of each other. But now I can actually see everything at once. If you guys have any recommendations for better organizers, definitely let me know in the comments, because I'm definitely open to finding better organizers so it can just look like very pristine and super organized. But this looks 100 times better to me, and now I actually don't now I can see everything, and I can have like all the options available instead of having foundations that have been hiding under layers of products for the last 2 years. So definitely very happy with everything in here. I like, and I plan on continuing to use. I don't have any products that are just taking up space in my collection anymore. So that's going to be everything for this video. Oh, I also wanted to mention, I got some questions about my nails in my last declutter. These are just press-on nails, and I will link them below in case you guys are curious, because I put them on in like 2 minutes quickly before this video, because otherwise I have super bitten nails that you guys would have been staring at this whole video. So I will link these nails below in case you guys are curious. But that's everything for this video. This makes me so much happier. It just feels exciting to look at. It looks more like, I mean, it looks still a little bit messy, but it looks more like a store like I like to have in my collection, where everything is just organized and by brand and stuff as much as possible. So yeah, that's gonna be everything for today. Let me know if you guys have any questions about any of the products. And if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.